And welcome to the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. It is 6 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock on this second to last day, the 30th day of October. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Full casting this morning. We'll sit from Paul Richards with our news brief. We'll hear from Richard Bhagwansingh, Wendell Stephen. We got Ruben in the mix. And of course, myself, Steve Khan, keeping you company this morning. All right, let's see what's happening with the WTs, weather and traffic this morning. My phone is just going off like a madman this morning. I'll tell you why shortly. Approaching Piarco Lights, you got some traffic there. Trinity towards Paget, you've got it. After that, it's no problem until you get to Swim Call in Port of Spain. Slow going through the interchange and the Arangway Zelskoro area. All right, going through on the Solo, you got traffic from Chase Village, just after Freeport, heading towards Sugargones, and a little volume from Charlieville, heading towards the interchange. Nothing to tell you out in San Fernando, building out in the west as usual. All right. Weather-wise, let's check it. It's a warm one this morning. Got a lot of breeze last evening. I totally enjoyed it. It's 27 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 28 at Crown Point in Tobago. It's a bit warm this morning, but let's check to see if the Met Office updated their weather. They have for today. Partly cloudy to cloudy with a few showers and 60% medium chance of the isolated heavy shower. Thunderstorms this evening will be mostly fair despite the odd shower. All right. Of course, public warning is in effect. Hazardous seas alert number 2, yellow level. All right. And of course, let's see who sent us hellos. Oh, I'll get both if I don't do it. Checking some temps across our listenership. Let's see. Toronto. I'm just waiting for it to load. Ooh, you're at 3 degrees. Miami, 25. Orlando, 20. New York, 13 and rain. Atlanta 15 and clear, London 13 and cloudy, Tampa 20, Washington DC, good morning to you, Chris, 14 degrees, and LA, our listener out in LA, it's 12 degrees and clear. All right, let's do send us hellos on our YouTube and Facebook channels as we stream audio and video. Trini in Boston, good morning. Oliver Man Warren, good morning. Renu Halasi, good morning to you. DJ Ray, Rena Budu Jennings, Garcilia in Valencia, Doreen Pierre, good morning, DP. Carol Guevara, I see you have a new boyfriend there, Yale. Marcia, I sent it for the boys too, for the group. Marcia Rock, always locked on. Ray, always locked on. Good morning, happy Monday. Ms. Maloney Dudu, good morning. You have a great day. All right, so let me say good morning to you, gentlemen.
Morning, morning, Steve. Morning, Paul. Morning, Richard. Morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Paul. How are you doing? Of course, good. Of course, I've been up since after 3 o'clock this morning, as I got the news, which everyone would hear eventually, that Helen Bhagwansingh passed away early this morning.
Oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I didn't get that news at all.
Yeah, Helen, I got that at 3 when he sent me, she called me up. So all Bhagwansingh stores will be closed today. Of course, that family is very close to me. I grew up with them. Lyman, Trevor, and Terry, and Susan, and Wendy, and of course, Auntie Helen was a significant part of our lives. So, yeah, that hit me like a rock this morning.
She certainly has made a mark in this country.
Oh, definitely. From where they came from, and how she built if you have to call it an empire. you know, and I know the family extremely well.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Okay. Condolences
that's
to
why
you.
my phone is really going off a bit. It's been going off a long time. And yes,
Yeah.
it's So all Bhagwansingh's outlets, stores, Bhagwansingh's and Dan Steel will be closed today.
But it's a good thing you say that, because I'm sure a lot of people would have been heading to those stores
A lot
today.
of people head to
End of the month.
Bhagwansingh's.
End of the month, you know.
Yeah.
I think she was recognized in several different fora as one of the most significantly successful businesswomen, and also she was a philanthropist.
Yeah.
Helped other young children and undertook several causes over her decades long in business. So may she rest in peace. Condolences to her family, colleagues, and workers.
she just celebrated her birthday. Her birthday is on the 7th of October, Wendell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She just celebrated. Nice little do.
Yeah, she was known for her generosity.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. And even when we go across there to Lyman, son, you eat? Come and get something to eat. Son, come. Everybody was a son. Everybody was, what you said, son, everybody will grow.
Right.
So, and of course, she's an avid animal lover as well. She has lots of pets, from peacocks to donkeys to ducks,
and the home was such a popular home in terms for Christmas time.
Well, it's a staple. Everybody used to pass and look at that house.
Yeah.
He loved to put up Christmas decorations early.
Yeah.
I remember a long time they used to have the meter that used to spin. Yeah, we used to go outside and look at that thing and just going ding, ding, ding. You know.
Yeah.
It's quite
well, one of the houses.
You know, the main house.
The main house.
The main house, yes.
One of the houses. The one everybody knows in Boston.
People used to leave wherever they want, drive by that house just to see it.
City lights, yeah. You know,
may she rest in peace.
She's quite a staple, of course. Her husband passed away a few years ago, Hubert Bhagwansingh.
So she built an empire. So
she built an empire.
She made her mark.
Yeah.
6:13. Good Monday morning to you. End of the month. We just have 2 months in the year to go again. This year flew past again.
Yeah.
Flew past.
56 days to Christmas, Paul. 56.
It flew past.
Yes, it did. October went by very quick. I have to tell you that.
Yes, it did.
Today we have some birthdays. We have David Peters. I know he listens. Anthony Tom. He is visually impaired. He works at another radio station, but a very, very nice guy. Happy birthday, Tom. Kathy Ann Tongsen, I'm sure she is listening. Happy birthday, Kathy Ann. Letta Carnival is also celebrating a birthday today. Roxanne Palmis and Lisa Dirty Molino. She is known for producing children's band, Carnival at Carnival time. Happy birthday, Lisa. Todd Patrick was yesterday. And so was Dr. Nan Gadsby Dolly. She was also...
Oh, really?
Yep. Her birthday was yesterday. So happy belated birthday greetings. Clyde James was Saturday. And Marissa Lewis, she works at Port of Spain Corporation. She was also yesterday. All right. So happy birthday. Just one more day in October to go before we close off a very special month. And then we start November, where I too have lots of birthdays coming up. So happy birthday to all of those celebrating birthdays today.
Let me say happy birthday going out to Sarah Maynard. She's quite a figure when it comes to animals and animal rescue. She's director at TKSBC at AWN. So happy birthday to you, Sarah Maynard. She also owns, family also owns Hot Shop.
Hot Shop?
Yeah.
As in the roti place?
Oh, yeah, your favorite roti place.
Yeah.
Okay,
I know the owner of Hot Shop, You wouldn't believe he's the owner when you see him,
Why?
Because how he looks. And he is so down to...
Because he's understated.
He's so down to
Very good. Good for him.
Yeah.
They always say the richest people dress in a jeans and a white t-shirt,
That's it. True.
It's only when you're trying to fight up, you're putting on what kind of thing to impress people. When you're really extremely wealthy, you dress very simply, you know.
Yeah. Like how you dressed for the play on Saturday.
Yeah. Like how you dress, Paul. We know. We talk about it. I can tell you.
I'm wealthy of spirit.
But Nikki play is great. It is great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I laugh. I enjoy. And that woman in front of me, I don't think nobody laughed louder than her.
How did your son deal with the sexually explicit content?
He was all right with it. He was all right.
He's accustomed to euphemisms for vaginas.
Actually, no. I'm sure a lot of what he heard surprised him.
I was saying, oh, this young man is getting an earful. But I mean, he's with his father, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always think those are the kinds of experiences you should have with your parents.
Yeah.
Like your first drink and your first playing mass, so that when you go out with your friends, it's not new to you. Nobody can encourage you. Nothing you're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah, because he is a very reserved person. He doesn't show much emotion. And I was watching him.
Still waters run deep. He reserved around you.
I'm sure you would have heard
of time. He's reserved around you.
True. As a matter of fact, the only time I've known him to really be very expressive is on the football field. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but
I'm sure he has his crew.
Yeah.
That he's not reserved with at all.
Yeah.
Some parents see the children in different circumstances and say, that is my child.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yes, I know.
Okay, all right. They have the parent personality and they have the friend personality. That's quite normal. That is very normal.
That is true.
You understand?
I think he is like that.
Have you ever noticed your children? Because I'm sure we did it with our parents. When you're at home, there's a particular behavior and conversations you can have. And when you're out with company, it's some things you don't say and some conversations you don't have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The children are the same, your children are the same as you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They have parent personality and they have friend personality. And you will see them and they don't know you're watching. Wow, that's my child.
Yeah. My children have told me sometimes they're afraid to talk certain things with me. They've told me that. At least they've been brave enough to tell me that sometimes they're afraid to have certain conversations with me. And I tell them, I say, well, you know, I didn't have anybody to have a conversation with when I was growing up. You understand? I depended on neighbors, elderly people in the neighborhood and so on.
But then you had somebody. It may not have been family, but you had someone.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't have these kind of conversations, you know.
Let's jump right in.
Morning to Teacher Isaac, someone who listens to us, who messages me from time to time, clearly saw me in the play and said, oh, I finally get to put a face to the person. And the person would not identify themselves, not for the hell of it. But they were inside of their texting away with me.
And you got your stuff. I finally got it.
I got it. Thank you very much. It's lovely.
I had that and I had one for Nikki's husband too, which I said, let me get these things out of my hand.
Right.
And nobody can drag it off your neck because it's massive.
Oh, yes, it is. It is.
It's a statement piece.
It is, for sure. I
told them I want one for a king, you know. They say, oh, okay. So you want a gold one? I said, I can't afford a gold one. They give me the next best thing, a black one. It's amazing what they say the things mean. Anyway, big weekend again. Tobago, good morning. I know the island is getting a little lighter this morning. Let me tell you, from all the videos and pictures and coverage I saw, Tobago's on to a good thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Tobago is on to a good thing. I saw Gypsy commenting that it's missing this and it's missing that. Gypsy, you know, we love you like brothers, but it is not what you think it's supposed to be. Okay? Yeah. It is what they think it's supposed to be.
And it's the second year.
And from what I saw, their Juve may rival ours. Okay? And I think they're onto a very, very good thing in Tobago. And it will continue to grow. Because actually that was quiet this weekend because basically anybody under 45 must have went to that. You realize that?
Yes.
It was very well subscribed. I mean, the police were out giving, the police gave out over 150 tickets for road infractions. And I saw them stopped a party when Nadia Bassett introduced Problem Child and were begging, but they enforced the law. So I think the police have put out a statement. It was the safest one in 30-something years. But I think Tobago, congratulations to the THA and Mr. Augustin and his team, because I think they put on a very good show.
Yeah, it appeared to be very safe and
successful, and people enjoyed themselves. There's a getaway to the island, and I'm sure it boosted the economy in several different ways in Tobago, because guest houses and hotels were booked out, and people bought food when they were there, and Cal put on extra flights, etc. You know, so kudos to them. I think from all I have seen and all I have heard, I think it was quite successful.
Yeah. I just hope they stop with these insults that they threw from time to time to Trinidadians, because trust me, at the end of the day, Trinidadians are the tourists in Tobago.
That is a different conversation, because that is the pure politics of it, the PNM versus the
well, it needs to stop. No, it not even just PNM versus it's Trinidad. It appears to be Trinidad versus Tobago sometimes, and that needs to stop.
Well, that's happened for decades. 4 shot dead in Belmont last night.
You know, I was avoiding that story. I actually have it up on my phone, and I was avoiding it because I was hoping
4 shot dead, wrong. 1 in Diego Martin. So 5 shot dead last night. 1 at Superfarm in Diego Martin. Now, the report says that Superfarm in Diego Martin, because the report went on to say that he was shot in his car, I'm suspecting he was in the car park of Superfarm in Diego Martin.
Yes. Nesta Sammy.
Who was shot several times inside the Suzuki SUV. Authorities suspect it was a hit ordered from behind prison walls.
Well, he was a murder suspect who was out on bail. And he was held several months ago with a cache of firearms at the Victoria Gardens apartment. And later placed on $250,000 bail for the guns and ammunition charges.
And 4 men were shot and killed at St. Francois Valley Road in Belmont. It's amazing how calmly I'm reading this, because it's becomes so commonplace. It's not even alarming to read stuff like this anymore, you know?
That is the story I don't understand.
At 10:15 last night, a gunman pulled up in a car and just opened fire, and a group of people gathered. Spray bullets. Police arrived on the scene and were able to intercept the suspect's vehicle.
Oh, they were?
Now disaggregate that sentence. Police who later arrived on the scene, is it that they arrived shortly thereafter?
Well, they might have been in the area.
Or, well, there's a Belmont police station, a quite big one, and they may have access to CCTV footage on the National Operations Center, I don't know. But they intercepted the vehicle, but they said he still escaped.
Oh. Okay.
No comment after that.
Yeah, the story missing parts, eh?
Thank you. Because if a report is made that there was a shooting in which people are seemingly dead because they died at the scene, you send in 1 car. Well, that's presuming you have more than 1 car to set. Let me rephrase that. Let me retract that. Let me revise that thought process.
Wait a minute. Because one thing the police can't complain about these days.
Could spend $1 million to buy ladders that they can't use, wooden ladders, but they can't buy enough police cars.
No.
They can't maintain police cars. Put it that way.
One thing the police can't complain about these days is cars.
You understand by that statement? You understand by that statement?
Yes, I'm standing by that statement.
Okay, all right.
The police can't.
You want to call every police precinct right now and say have an emergency and sure it have cars?
If the police complain about not having cars now, they're wicked.
When that is generally not about the cars, it's about the maintenance of the cars.
Yeah, but they will say VEMCOD is the one that maintains the vehicles. That's what they would say.
Anyway, the man get away. Right? So he out there at large.
It can't be because of a lack of a car. Maybe something else happened. It can't be because of a lack of a car that the man.
Well, they said they pursued him, so it wasn't the lack of a car. Police also had a big seizure over the weekend in Trent City, 14,227 pharmaceutical items. They were found to be unregistered and not allowed to be sold in TNT. Estimated value 1.5 million, and also quarantined certain cache of items estimated to be valued at $10 million. With a drug
that story?
That is about the archaic laws. The head of the Food and Drug Administration saying because of the archaic laws, that's the follow-up.
Yeah, not the head of Food and Drugs, the former head of the Pharmaceutical Association, is Ram. What's his name? We have interviewed him many times. Rahman. He said the drugs are good. Nothing wrong with it. The poor face. I tell you what the man said on television last night, that nothing wrong with the drugs. So maybe we should try.
He has, I'm using this as a euphemism. He has a propensity for opening his mouth and shooting himself in the foot.
Twice.
That's all I will say. Okay?
But
maybe, and he's somebody I speak to pretty semi-regularly. I see him going around and things, but Andrew have some issues. Okay?
Andrew always had issues.
Right. So let's just stick with what the authorities have said. All right?
But he's saying the drug's good.
But I don't know that he's the authority to say the drug's good.
Okay.
Because he thought he should be president of Pharmacy Association for life.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Okay. Right. So let's just take what the authorities have said. Right? Seizure notices were issued to the warehouse manager. So they have the items now stored at Food and Drug on Frederick Street for safekeeping. Sorry to laugh, but the issue is, to me, the bigger issue to me is, and this is not only to do with these items. They are unregistered, but guess what? They come in the country.
Yes. And in a warehouse where apparently
$10.5 million in pharmaceutical items unregistered pass through customs and excise and end up in a warehouse. How? Tell me how.
They pass through where?
Tell me how. How? Isn't there a process at customs and excise for ensuring that items coming into the country are bona fide and above board? So then what else is coming to this country that unauthorized?
But we
have not found at all.
But I think all you're forgetting, we spoke to Minister of Health, Terence Singh, a little while back, and he mentioned this, He spoke about this,
He did. I remember that. He did.
Yes.
He did. So the real question is, and it keeps coming back to one agency in this country over and over and over. And that's why I say this is the Republic of Trinidad, Tobago, and Customs and Excise.
Yeah.
Because them is an authority unto themselves.
They are, They don't need us to origin it. They just have to go.
We clearly get a
excise seems to be some sort of enclave ruled by a different executive.
Yeah.
Than the government of Trinidad and Tobago. You realize that?
Yeah. And you never really hear or know who the head of customs is, You never really
hear.
I know.
Who's the head of customs? Who's the comptroller of customs? I think that's the title.
Yep, I think it's an acting person now. But they are a group of about 10 people at the head who seem to have been there since Jesus was a little boy.
Okay.
Okay? And therein lies the problem. The Republic of Trinidad, Tobago, and the annex of Customs and Excise. Right? Because like them running themselves. And no government seems to have the testicular fortitude or ability to break up the racket that is Customs and Excise in this country. And I will say it plainly. Screenshot it.
Customs comes under what ministry? Is it Ministry of Finance?
Ministry of Finance. And it should be, in my humble opinion, National Security. because it's border control. It is significantly border control. That's why larger jurisdictions have customs under national security. Because while there is a huge financial aspect to it, in terms of national security, it is border control.
Yeah. But I'm not too sure I want to give national security any more responsibilities, no? But I remember that discussion coming up.
Is that generally in principle or under present management?
No, generally. Because I remember
if national security is operating effectively, we shouldn't have an issue with that, right?
We had the same discussion since back in the day with Martin Joseph too, about why customs not under the National Security Ministry. And I
because it makes sense for it to be under the Finance Ministry for several different reasons. Good morning, Bhagwansingh.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, our listeners and viewers wherever you are.
Morning,
Rich.
So all that, them pharmaceutical items, unregistered as they were, the subject of a massive seizure, 14,227 items end up in our warehouse in Trinity. They are unregistered, not allowed to be sold in TNT, but it end up in the country. It passed through customs, unless it's coming up Pirog.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. A lot of our problems in this country keep finding themselves under one agency in this country.
But clearly there are people who are able to get by these things, because I think there's a lot of the, remember, if I remember when we spoke to Minister Dayal, a lot of them were unlabeled too, so you didn't even know what they were for, and a lot of them were heading towards the realm of you men and your problems and all your issues, or you always want help with something. A lot of those drugs were pointing towards that area.
The drugs that were seized?
No, I didn't say the drugs that were seized.
Don't take one when they're not issued for this thing. Well, don't take one when they're not. I know that 14,220 something drugs is all erectile dysfunction drugs. That's what we're implying.
I said a lot of them.
That is what you're implying.
I said a lot of them were heading in that. But I remember the conversation with Minister Dayal saying
horny goat weed, etc. I remember the conversation too. But on a wider scale, it's more than that. It's drugs that are purporting to have health benefits, which is dangerous.
Yeah. Maybe we should get Mr. Rahman. And
you're talking about herbal drugs?
Why you want to call Rahman? For what?
Because he had something to say about it.
So everybody who has something to say, we call them?
Well, we
need to call the new head of the Food and Drug Division, not Andrew Hammond.
We could do that too.
What do you mean, the new head of the pharmacy board?
The exact pharmacy board, sorry, yes. That's what we need to call, not Rahmat. Because we know Rahmat going to say that you want to be head of the pharmacy board again.
Well, isn't that in court still?
No, it's not.
Didn't he challenge it?
I'm not sure. I think he did, but I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure. But wouldn't that matter go before the court, or is it that whoever owned the allegedly unauthorized drugs, because we have to speak in allegedly.
We don't have to say allegedly. The police tell us it's unauthorized. And Food and Drug tell us it's unauthorized.
Me so sure I go by the police, huh?
That's it.
Well,
it's alleged.
Food and Drug,
all criminal offenses are alleged.
It's unregistered, and unregistered is the word, and unauthorized to be sold in TNT. Food and Drug tell us that, not the police.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So it's
Food and Drug inspectors.
If it's a criminal offense, it's an alleged or criminal offense. So I don't know if it has to go to court, or if it is that it's in some spurious way being interpreted by whatever the law says, and the company that owns it is going to sue. I don't know.
Well, they also said, to add context, that the quarantined items, so they were seized items and quarantined items, were quarantined owing to a lack of a pharmaceutical wholesale license or a licensed pharmacist on the site. Now, if you soup down at 2 o'clock in the morning, or you expect to have a pharmacist on the site, really? You understand?
Yeah, that would make sense.
So that part's sketchy, but the wholesale license may be the issue.
You know what this song like a bit too? And forgive me. This song like somebody who didn't do something the proper way or didn't handle somebody somewhere and get all the things to seize. That's what it's song like too.
Let me tell you what that implies. It implies that you can handle somebody legally and get your things through. And I can't countenance that.
What do you mean? But you just raised the issue of customs.
But I am not saying it is not, it doesn't happen. But the way you're projecting it, and I may be interpreting wrong, is that is the way to do it.
No, I'm not saying that's the way to do it, but it's something like that's the way something happened.
But I don't like, I can't comment on that in that way.
Oh, please.
Good morning to Ramesh Maharaj, Senior Counsel. Because he had a press conference on Saturday, and he said won an important judgment via the Privy Council. Remember, Maharaj, the late, had made a statement that said that Tobagonian men are lazy and something many years ago.
Yes.
And he was charged with sedition.
Yes.
And he took it to court, of course, challenged it. And the interpretation of the Privy Council said, basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, that for the state of Trinidad and Tobago, meaning whoever the government is, to be able to bring a sedition charge, the action, the speech will have to have resulted in unrest and disorder, and in violence, public disorder, or unrest, which it did not.
So he won the matter.
Yeah. Right? So he said it was a victory for media practice and free speech. So that's what the Privy Council's interpretation and a paraphrase meant. Because it's like the US, if Trump said something in the US on January 6th and it didn't result in unrest, you understand? With the interpretation, there's no sedition to be prosecuted, right? So just saying something doesn't necessarily mean it's, if seditious is a word.
Yeah.
You understand? He said the Privy Council ruled that it could not examine the constitutionality of the sedition law because its existing law never saved. Remember that saving clause, which I spoke about last week? But for it to meet the bar of sedition, it would have had to result in the unrest or the public disorder or the violence, which it did not. It may have caused some public disquiet. So he said, because you disagree with something, and people vehemently disagree with it, of course, and Sat Maharaj was no stranger to saying things people disagreed with. I mean, we say things people disagree with all the time. You understand?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it reaches the bar of being seditious.
Yeah, among the messages I just get about you and Richard in the morning.
Yeah, that's fine. That means we're doing our job. That's exactly what that means.
I'm seeing an article where the private pharmacy business association is blaming antiquated and outdated legislation as the main catalyst behind a series of raids being carried out on pharmacies across.
What is the organization's name?
The Private Pharmacy Business Association.
And who is the principal in that?
Well, the person that is speaking here is the association's comment comes. Well, the persons whose picture they have, the president is Glenn Wayne Suchet, and he says the reward.
I know that name. I went through that person. Steve, you remember that person from Hillview?
Yeah, he said the raids were not new and initially began in July, but he says, referring to the current perception that these were drugs that were unsafe for use, that were still being sold to the public, which he admitted had been hampering business generally. Suchet explained, there is nothing wrong with these drugs. The drugs they are talking about, which the CFDD claim are not registered, includes Emergency, Caltrate, certain brands of Vicks, certain types of topical ointments that are sold freely over the counter in all first world countries,
topical ointments,
US, Canada, and so on. However, he blamed the crisis.
Retardex.
Yeah. He blamed the country's antiquated laws for the issue.
The Pharmacy Board Act was last updated in 1962, and try as we have to get the laws changed, nothing has been forthcoming. And knocking the red tape and other setbacks in the process for them to import pharmaceuticals, he added. The registration process for any individual or company was probably taking a couple of years because we didn't even have a drug advisory unit in the CFDD for a number of years. So obviously it seems as if this is also a bureaucratic problem. And you know, when there are bureaucratic problems, people will find a way around them.
But there's certainly some sort of clear conflict that's been happening between the Ministry of Health and the pharmacists in this country for a while.
For a long time.
So I must suspect this is just the tip of the iceberg where that is concerned, or part of the symptoms of what's happening. And we run out of time to go to papers. And the man who killed, allegedly, well, I don't think allegedly anymore, killed the 20 people in Maine has been found dead.
Yeah? Okay.
18. Is it 18
Robert
or
Card
18?
was found dead from a seemingly self-inflicted gunshot wound. Good for you, Robert. You did the right thing. Who do like it tough? And Matthew Perry from Friends died over the weekend.
Yeah. That was a shock.
Yeah.
And Dwight Howard has admitted that after denying it for a while, after the man, some guy
Stephen
who
Harper. The man named Stephen Harper.
Stephen,
we real pong Harper about that.
He admitted to having consensual sex with the man, but denied sexually abusing the man.
Who's this?
Dwight Howard.
A big NBA star, Dwight Howard. Was a big social media trending for the last week where he was alleged to. People were saying, "Well, come out and see if you're gay," and he said, "No, he's not." But then he said he didn't know the guy, and then he said he knew the guy, but he didn't do nothing. And then now he know the guy. They had sex consensually, but he didn't abuse the guy. So can't the goalpost keep shifting?
There's an NBC correspondent or something.
NBA star. A basketball star, Richard.
Oh, okay.
He's almost 7 feet tall. He's huge.
And how is that material?
Are you contextualizing the story for
me?
No, because Stephen Harper didn't stand a chance.
Who have papers? I didn't even want to dissect that. That you so happy to announce the man is 7 feet tall. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I just how excited he said it, but he's 7 feet tall.
You tried to say poor Stephen.
No, Richard is so mischievous. Richard here say NBA basketball, he got NBC correspondent. He miserable.
Yeah, but you were already happy to share that he's 7 feet tall. So poor Stephen Harper. Richard, do you have newspapers?
Yes, I do. So I can start with the front page of the Tobago Guardian.
Oh my God, he's 7 feet tall. Oh man. That's really abuse of some kind.
Oh God, anyway. There was no kind of consent you could give at all.
Whatever happened is abuse. Even if you thought you was consenting, it's abuse.
Can you all behave? It's Monday morning. So Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. Carnival let down. Gypsy unhappy with Tobago's 2023 product. Says spectators suffered due to disorganization. Urges TH8 to work with NCC for next year's event. Pharmacy body wants laws amended after product seizures. That's a subheadline. And cops shut down 3 restaurants and 2 casinos in Port-of-Spain.
I hear so.
All that is on the front page of the Guardian. On the back page, 3rd defeat for TNT hockey men. And well, that's it.
No, but did they say where were those restaurants and casinos shut down?
When I read the article, they said there was one on Broadway. It was between Broadway and Independence Square.
Hawk and Spit?
I don't know. They just said Broadway and Independence Square. They didn't identify it, at least in the newspaper article.
Broadway, Charlotte Street, and somewhere. They didn't name them.
Yeah, you're right. It's Charlotte Street, Broadway, and Independence Square.
Oh, okay.
Not on Donald Street.
No.
On Donald Street is not a casino or what's the other
Front page,
restaurant?
front page of the Newsday.
I think they eat, but
UNC
not that
Senator
kind of-
predicts gloomy Christmas for SMEs, Forex fallout. The main picture, of course, is the main picture in both the Guardian and the Newsday is that of Tobago Carnival. Kamla attends Diwali event in Penal. I'm not so sure why that's the news. And on the back page of the Newsday today, TT Javelin icon optimistic after Achilles rupture. Walcott hopes for Paris return, and he hits the Pan Am track. That's the front and the back page of the Newsday. And I'll get to the Express now. The Trinidad and Tobago Daily Express. The front page, Heinz fire truck fiasco, 20 wooden unusable ladders discarded. Heinz calls for probe. It had absolutely nothing to do with any minister of government per se. Grandpa saves grandson from fiery death. And main picture again is also of Tobago Carnival. And on the back page of the Daily Express, A-Team delivers. Joseph's unbeaten half-century helps clinch ODI series 2-1 for West Indies women. And that's it basically for the three dailies this morning.
I think the story with Kamla Prasad-Bissessar was because there was rumors about how she wasn't well and whatnot. So that's why it became a story that she was out.
Okay. Was that it? Okay.
Yeah. So I guess she came out to show people that she is well, in fact.
All right. Well, gentlemen, let's get into this morning's poll. Let me give you the results of our poll from Friday.
Is that back to work?
Apparently, yeah. Do you think the attacks on Hindu temples constitute a hate crime? That was our poll Friday. Results are in. 56%, 5-6, said yes. All right. Let's get into this morning's poll.
Are we doing the pharmaceuticals?
Because how you're phrasing it, though.
We should do customs.
Or customs? Should customs be placed under the Ministry of National Security?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. Move to the front of the class.
That's all right. Is that Giniami you bring from it? That nice big Giniami. It has already.
What do you call it?
It's a Giniami. Gyeynyame. It's an Adinkra symbol.
It's similar for the universe, is what they told me.
Yeah, it's a universal symbol. Mean except God. It's a Christian symbol, that's why I couldn't understand why the person had a problem with it.
All right.
The person never picked for assembly. The person had a problem with you.
222-8255 North Americans, toll free 866-525-1099.
Even if you were across the drag, get off your neck, it's you.
They thought I was working over here with my African symbols. All right. So, do you think Customs and Excise should be placed under the Ministry of National Security? That's our question this morning.
Yeah. Good morning to Nigel Harris out in Washington, D.C. Good morning to you. Have a great week. Gloria Gray, good morning. Shireen Jack, Winston Jones, Dennis Bassad, Ingrid Adams, CJ New York, Edwin Marshall, Mo Gaines out in Aruka. Aloha, good morning to you. Arno, Richard Jeremiah, good morning. Alan Reese, good morning. He says, yes, I agree. Wayne B says, yes. Good morning, Richard Duku. All right. Do you think Customs and Excise should be placed under the Ministry of National Security? Yes or no? Right now, it's under the Ministry of Finance. So should it be placed under the Ministry of National Security? Helen Prescott, good morning to the poll. Yes. CJ out in New York. Yes. Wayne Joseph out of Simcoe, Ontario, Canada, also says yes. What says you, caller?
Good morning, Steve. How are you today?
Not bad.
Right, my answer is yes. It should have been a very long time ago, but they won't do it.
All right, thank you so much. Have a great day. Maria Celia says good morning and yes. Lester Craigwell also says yes. Josie Richardson says yes. Good morning to you, Josie. 222-8255, toll-free North Americans, 866-525-1099. Our poll, yes or no. Do you think Customs and Excise should be placed under the Ministry of National Security? You can also send us a message via YouTube or Facebook. I'll get it right here in studio. Junior says yes.
You missed Julia Batiste, huh?
Oh, I did, yes. Julia Batiste says yes. Gregory Bauer says yes. Carol Guevara. I sent you all a picture of Carol's new boyfriend.
Yeah, and some more.
Yeah.
Is Jason Momoa?
Yes. Carol says yes. Karen Yipnow, morning. No. RPL, no.
So our poll this morning, do you think Custom and Excise should be placed under the Ministry of National Security? 222-TALK, 222-8255, North America, 866-525-1099, and that's absolutely toll-free to you. People in other parts of the planet, 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255.
Good morning, Grandy.
People on the web and app, send your comments.
Grandy, no.
All right, Grandy, thank you. Lorna. Morning, Lorna. Morning, Indy. And morning, Carly. Yes. Kenny out in Harlem. I say yes to the poll.
The good news this week is that we have in earnest Diwali celebrations and observances kick off in big style this week.
Yeah, over the weekend.
I think Diwali Naga opens on the 2nd of November, if I'm not mistaken. And
yes, it opens for this weekend.
Yeah.
The PNM had their celebrations yesterday down at Chagons. They had the Diwali celebrations.
Looking forward to that.
Okay.
I love Diwali celebrations.
Yes. Diwali food.
St. James normally has a very big celebration.
Says yes.
Our poll, do you think Customs and Excise should be placed under the Ministry of National Security? That's our poll this morning. What do you think? 222-TALK, 222-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app, send your votes via the comment section on our YouTube stream or on our Facebook stream or our LinkedIn stream.
Yeah. I know you are.
RPL, I thought the same thing. Romantic and passionate love. I thought the same thing, but you know, it really is a national security thing. I think Customs really should be there, but for years Customs has been under Ministry of Finance, and for years Customs is cash you gotta go with, you know. If you go to take out something and you go there and you have they send you back for cash, you know. Then they can no other kind of payment, and then eventually
Good morning, caller. Morning.
Morning, all right. This is Lunis calling here. I'm listening to the program here this morning, and where you all was saying if actually we should put it under national security.
Mm-hmm. And your answer would be?
I don't think so. Not so long Heinz is there. We don't have no national. We don't have no in that position of the national.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. You know, it had nothing to do with who is the line minister. You know.
Well, I just looking at you putting it under a certain ministry, and it's come like, you know, if you're going and wash clothes and you put it out when the rain falling or whatever. I thought it's something to do with Heinz. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
All right. That insult was brought to you by whoever that caller was.
Slick Money Grip says yes. Winston Jones says yes. All right. Do you?
So I guess that was romantic and passionate lover who called in, because the person is now saying the same thing on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Customs and Excise should be placed under the Ministry of National Security?
It might make a difference, you know, if you still have the same people running it.
Yeah,
might make no difference.
Customs officers and so on.
Even the same officers running it. I mean, you know, the only thing is that police might be able to go in there and raid without telling them they're coming to raid. So they can't warn their accomplices.
Alistair Hart says no.
And the folks are running into the scanner. And the CCTV cameras mightn't go down for 6 months.
Every budget we hear about scanners. Every budget we hear about scanners. At the port, at this place, at that place. Every budget. Yeah.
It's like weather. It's like the weather forecast. We're getting body cams. We're getting more CCTV cameras, and we're getting more scans in the port. That's so.
Yep.
Every year.
Every year.
To deal with the problem of contraband.
Every government.
But there people afraid customs. Customs is an enclave. And they have their own laws in there.
Yep.
Customs like the Vatican, you know, a state within a state. That's what customs is like.
But whereas police need to get a search warrant, customs don't.
Nope, and customs is the next group that could make and break you, eh?
You could delay searching your container and make you feel you have to do something until what you get it out of here. No, we ain't reached container 345 yet. Okay, the time 6 months past, you know. Christmas come and go on. Your goods still on the port. Or you don't want to comply. All right.
I guess, okay. All right, so our question is, do you think Customs and Excise should be placed under the Ministry of National Security? And we said that in the context of the responsibilities of Customs and Excise. It has nothing to do with any minister.
I don't know why they're personalizing it. The minister can be there forever. No matter what. You understand?
Yeah. This guy will tell you.
222-TALK, 222-8255. Someone told me 612-825 may not be working. But toll-free is working. 866-525-1090.
We have a call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning again, brother. I don't think it should be placed under that ministry at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If you're on the Solo northbound, you got traffic from Claxton Bay towards Coover. Don't know why, but you got some traffic.
Because it's Monday.
It's Monday.
The airport must be busy this morning.
With people coming, returning.
Port must be packed.
Yeah.
The port will be busy too, eh?
Yeah. Port and airport. And most offices are closed in Tobago today. I know all government offices are closed. I think the banking sector.
The Prime Minister quite vocal about the $55 million building on Thursday.
Yeah.
After Raymond wrote a very, very powerful piece on it in the Sunday Express, I do believe it was, about the price per square footage higher than what is is to be considered extremely high. And why no questions were asked about the cost per square foot and the $24 million used to retrofit the building, and how this unfolded with no questions being asked. For how many years? Is it 7 or 8 years?
All right.
And now I think the building is at least on a month-to-month basis. So I thought the original lease was stopped, but the lease continues on a month-to-month basis. That's what it is?
I'm not sure, because I know it was a 3-year lease, right?
Yeah, but they said the original lease was broken, but I read somewhere that it continues on a month-to-month basis, which is why I don't understand.
Yeah. Just Ron, we did speak about that murder, the murders in Belmont, and the fact that the guy got away. We did speak about it. He said
did you touch on that ransomware, apparently ransomware attack against TSTT?
Yes, and someone told me
which has to be the problem why you can't play your bloody B-Mobile bills online. You have to actually go to a physical place to pay your bills. It is quite irritating.
Well, I think the mobile problem is wider than that. But someone told me if you have any of your passwords reposed there, you should change them immediately.
Really?
Associated with TSTT because of that ransomware.
Wow. All right. Well, gentlemen, we got to run into news. Evie St. Hill Bob is in. News starts right now.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Police on the hunt for gunmen as 4 men are shot dead in Belmont. Positive and negative reviews following Tobago's Carnival. $1.5 million in pharmaceuticals seized and $10 million in pharmaceuticals quarantined, and protests for water from residents of Mondesir Delhi Road, Faizabad. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sindel-Bab. Good morning. 4 men who were shot and killed in Belmont on Sunday. Or rather, 4 men were shot and killed in Belmont on Sunday. The shooting occurred shortly after 10:15 p.m. along the St. Francois Valley Road in Belmont. A lone shooter opened fire on the man after he pulled up in a vehicle. Police who later arrived on the scene were able to intercept the suspect's vehicle, but senior police officers say he escaped. Also, police reported that Nestor Sami, alias Papi, was killed on Sunday at Super Farm in Diego Martin just before 7 p.m. Sami, a murder suspect who was out on bail, was held several months ago with a cache of firearms at a Victoria Gardens apartment and later placed on $250,000 bail for the guns and ammunition charges. Sami was shot several times inside his Suzuki SUV at the Diego Martin pharmacy, and authorities suspect it was a hit ordered from behind prison walls. The country's murder toll for the year is presently 478. Carnival celebrations in Tobago are over. Tobago Carnival Gold Commander ACP Collis Hazel described this year's Juve as a success, saying it was the safest on the island in the past 33 years. ACP Hazel said there were no reports of serious crimes or road traffic accidents. There were several events to mark the celebrations, including Scarborough's Juve, the Mud is Life at the Shore Park Complex, and costumed masqueraders parade on Sunday. Meanwhile, Trinbago claims Milford Road was not closed off to vehicular traffic during the early portion of the organization's Rhythm, Steel and Power event in Scarborough. 12 steel bands reportedly performed at the event. It started near the Coast Guard base and ended on the Esplanade. However, Trinbago President Beverly Ramsey Moore complained in an interview with reporters that the event was happening and they were seeing traffic passing through. She said that she was deeply disturbed about that disrespect, and from what she's gathering, it was all about payment to police. She said culture comes first, country comes first. The government will always pay, and it is government to government, she said. Food and Drug inspectors seized 14,227 pharmaceutical items, which were found to be unregistered and therefore not allowed to be sold in Trinidad and Tobago. The items were seized by a party of investigative officers from a cosmetic company warehouse located at Tissue Drive, Trin City Industrial Estate on October 27. The multi-agency task force took action after receiving several reports of the scale of unregistered and expired drugs currently being sold to the public at pharmacies throughout Trinidad and Tobago from Commissioner of Police Earl Haywood Christopher. Documented information was provided by the Ministry of Health's Chemistry, Food and Drug Division, indicating many pharmacies have breached the Food and Drug Act, Chapter 3001. These items were estimated to be valued at over $1.5 million. The items quarantined at the warehouse were estimated to be valued at over $10 million. Seizure notices were issued to the warehouse manager, and the warehouse area was secured and ordered sealed by the Food and Drug inspectors. Protests from residents of Mondesir, Delhi Road, Faizabad over the weekend, complaining about no water for the past 6 months. Residents told the media of the hardship they've been experiencing because of the situation.
For the past 6 months, we have been without pipe-borne water. No water to cook, no water to wash. We had floods, we can't clean. Children can't go to school. We're back to the old-time days.
We have to pick up baskets, laundry bags, and go by people on the other side of the highway. I am speaking for myself here by picking up and going to somebody's house to wash. But what about everybody else?
Saparia Mayor Dudnath Meru said the corporation has received calls from villagers appealing for an improved water supply.
When it rains, it's water in everybody's house. And when sun hot, there's no water in the taps. And this has been a problem that has been ongoing for months now. This goes all the way into Delhi Road. I have received calls from all Faizabad, Erin, Quarry Village, San Francisco, Block Road. All these areas are suffering as we speak here right now.
Meanwhile, the Water and Sewage Authority says there are approximately 15 houses located between lamppost 15 and lamppost 20, which are at the extremities of the distribution system and whose supply is also being impacted by an aged, encrusted 4-inch cast iron pipeline. It said the water supply schedule to the general area has also been adversely affected by recent shutdowns at the Carney Point Lisas desalination plant. WASA said that it will continue to provide truck-borne service to the affected customers in the area while they finalize a permanent solution. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. Officers arrested a couple, seized a firearm, several rounds of ammunition, and a quantity of narcotics during an intelligence-led exercise Sunday in the Northern Division. The National Operation Task Force, in collaboration with a team of officers under the supervision of ACP Tactical Support and officers of the Special Intelligence Unit, conducted an intelligence-led exercise on the 29th October, which formed part of an ongoing anti-crime operation, which commenced on the 25th October. The operation was initiated in response to reports of threats to members of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. At approximately 6:15 a.m., the team of officers, acting on intelligence gathered, proceeded to Monroe Road, Lower Santa Cruz, and executed a search warrant for illegal firearms at the residence of a suspected member of a gang. During the search, officers uncovered one black Draco short-stock rifle, together with one magazine, 30 rounds of 7.62 ammunition, and 4.7 kilograms of marijuana. The items were seized, and PC Diet arrested the 30-year-old man and his 21-year-old female companion. Well, finally, here's weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, partly cloudy to cloudy with few showers and a medium chance of isolated heavy showers or thunderstorms. Tonight will be mostly fair despite the odd early morning shower. Gusty winds and street or flash flooding are possible in and near heavy showers and thunderstorms. There is a hazardous seas yellow alert presently in effect. Sea bathers and those using the sea should exercise caution. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 33 degrees Celsius, both at Piarco International Airport and Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, it's 28 degrees Celsius at Piarco and 29 at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, police on the hunt for gunmen as 4 men are shot dead in Belmont. Positive and negative reviews following Tobago's Carnival. $1.5 million in pharmaceuticals seized and $10 million in pharmaceuticals quarantined, and protests for water from residents of Mondesir, Delhi Road, Faizabad. I'm Avril Sintilbab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon today and an update coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right, thank you, Avril, for our major news. We can join Avril again coming up at 8 o'clock for our news brief. All right, quickly, let's take a look at what's happening traffic-wise. Golaconda Connector Road in San Fernando, you've got some traffic. Also from Claxton Bay heading up to Couva. That's quite sticky. Riverland Road is not too bad, except when you get into inside Couva and Point Lisas. Your traffic again is going to start from Charlieville, just before Monroe Road, which is, by the way, getting pretty heavy. Towards the interchange, Chaguanas Main Road, Southern Main Road, in the vicinity of Chin Chin Road, Kelly Village, Ibis Gardens to Curep, and that Southern Main Road in Curep is very heavy this morning. Piarco towards Huey, Curep towards Port of Spain, Eastern Main Road. Usual spots by McCoy and Paget and slow going through Mount Hope and heavier there towards Mova Junction. Good Lady Young Road coming down the saddle towards from Santa Cruz to San Juan. And of course, Moncoco Road is heavy heading towards the saddle and out of Diego Martin heavy as well. All right, that's a quick traffic update for you. Of course, let's see if we have any more votes. Good morning, Herder Wells. All right. Thank you, Rena. Right. Okay. That's it. Let's get the results of our morning poll. We ask you.
Do you think
Go ahead.
Do you think Customs and Excise should be placed under the Ministry of National Security? We had 19 people voting yes and 5 voting no. 19 voted yes and 5 voted no. All right. Mm-hmm. So that's the results of our poll this morning. All right. Do we have so I guess we could do we have a guest this morning? If not, we could open up the line.
We have Pastor Dotin. I did send him the invite and message him as well.
Okay.
But you know, I think if they wanted to make a difference in Customs and Excise, even under Finance, Ministry of Finance, they would have. I just think that there are some people who, even if it were placed under national security, seem to have some sort of blanket immunity.
Yeah, it's called culture, the culture of an organization. Some organizations can't change its culture regardless of where they go.
Well, I think it's more than culture. I think it's as I said, even if you change the culture, there are seemingly some entities in this country that are immune from investigation and or prosecution.
Yeah. It's like,
and no matter who is in power, in this country, PNM, UNC, NAR, anybody else run this country? I think those are the only three that run this country. PP. That it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
That those persons will be able to, no matter if Customs and Excise goes under national security, will be able to bring containers into this country and get them bypass some searches and or seizures.
Yeah. And in my opinion, those things are those are international issues. It's like the police service. The police service is the police service all over this world, you know. They're much different, you know.
Well, I disagree with that. In many jurisdictions, the police service would have had corruption issues decades ago. But in New York and in London in particular, they have instituted changes 2-3 decades ago that have been able to not absolutely, but root out and minimize corrupt elements, and they have ongoing mechanisms to identify corrupt elements, so much so that they have been able to make a turnaround.
So they've instituted squads, which is what we try to do here. We try to do that here, you know. I don't know if people forget our history, you know. We tried to do that here, and it was all reversed when governments changed. These are things that we need to get sorted out. Certain things, and Richard says it all the time, needs to transcend government. And that issue of those specialized units that was formed under Patrick Manning and Martin Joseph should have remained. But they were all dismantled. The people were fired. They had to be paid off because they were fired unceremoniously. Are people forgetting these things? I don't know. All the equipment that was bought and being used by the ministry at the time, by police and so on, and all the different ministries, they were all put in a shed and sold off. The blimp was sold for $50,000. Or they forget that or what?
No,
because they said the blimp was spying in people's bedroom. The Captain Brigadier Peter Joseph was unceremoniously sent home. I don't forget these things. We went right back after all what Patrick Manning and them tried to do. We went all the way back. They said the fight was on land, not on the sea. We don't need all these assets.
Again, even when Mr. Manning, is that the second term, the term that he lost after calling the snap election?
Yes, it was 2007 to 2010.
And there are many, including Karen Seshera, who suggest that if Mr. Manning had remained in power, there may have been some difference, but we have no way of knowing if that is true or not.
No,
because it's now academic. But my point is, no matter who is, and actually there's a suggestion that maybe he was removed because he was going after them by some people.
Yes,
right.
That was
but even if that turns out to be true, the data is that no administration has been successful in significantly weeding out rogue cops from the police service, and it has served to the detriment of the police service public trust and confidence levels, and also undermined the work of the law-abiding police officers.
Because it has become entrenched.
Right?
It is so
whether
deep.
Entrenched or unentrenched, the classification's irrelevant if we do not find a way to be consistent in going after rogue officers. So whatever the reason is, whether it's the government changing or the elite unit or whatever it is, we have not been successful.
Okay, well, I wish them the best.
Okay?
I wish them the best. It ain't gonna happen.
Madam Commissioner could come to the defense, as she should, of all the hardworking officers as she did last week. All she wants. It doesn't change the fact that the public perception is that police corrupt. And they don't differentiate, unfortunately, between hard-working honest police and corrupt police.
Because I maintain the good officers are afraid. They are apprehensive. I use the word afraid. They are apprehensive. Right. They are apprehensive.
No, when they're afraid is the word. Afraid is the word. You don't couch for afraid. Because they receive threats.
Yeah.
You understand? And the commissioner could dance and shake and spin and bob and weave all she wants. And the one before her, and the one before him, and the one before him, and the one before him, and the one before him. Okay? Right down to Randolph Burroughs.
Yep.
For those who could remember that name. Corruption. Corrupt officers in the service that are allowed to undermine the work of the service as a whole. Okay, so while there have been one or two officers held for this and that and charged for this and that, it is to me minor in comparison to the officers who are literally, by dint of giving information to gang members, part of the gang. Okay? Challenge me.
No argument there.
If you are working with an illegal gang in the country as an officer and giving them confidential information, aren't you part of the gang?
But you're part of a bigger problem.
Well, they're part of the gang outside. What we have gang laws for. From the time you're giving information, confidential police information to a gang, you are working with the gang, not so?
Mm.
And so you are by dint of that part of the gang. So, I mean, so much so, as they say, that you have to have the mere fact that I think every administration from 20 years ago to now recognized that, well, we need a cloistered elite unit to go and sit in operations because we can't have the information floating around the service because it will get back to the criminals. What does that tell you? That there is a recognition of the problem.
Yeah, and Dr. Rowley and this government needs to get it done. To hell with who say what, get it done. Stop talking too much.
I wanted to get back to that. I wanted to get back to that ransomware thing with TSTT because it's fine, all honky-dory to say change your online password and stuff with B-Mobile, etc. But there is no way to change it because you can't get on. It's no longer there to change. So that information makes no sense. Because I usually pay my bills with Be Online and stuff from the app. And you can pay both your landline and your B-Mobile line. And both of them, you had no access at all last week. Anything online. And they were saying that there's this new app, but the reviews of the app is terrible. People are giving it terrible reviews. And even when I attempted to go on, it couldn't even find my account. And I was like, you know what? No, this is too much trouble. So you had to resort to going into a brick and mortar kiosk. And I had to stand. I was there about 10:15 to 10. The girl opened up the place at 10 o'clock. So I said, well, can I come now? She said, no, the machine don't start until 10 a.m. I don't know what machine starts until 10 a.m.
Yes. That is in Long Circular Mall.
Yes. The machine don't start until 10 a.m.
Yeah, I use
and
that
I'm like,
same
what?
one to
What
pay
you
my
mean? Yeah, no, don't start till 10 a.m. So there were two other people behind me. I was first. And the good lady, the older lady behind me, see what she said? She said the machine doesn't start till 10 a.m.
I know someone who went to that same kiosk to get a SIM changed to eSIM, which they're telling you have to do now, especially if you want to travel. And they hooked it up and everything. Oh, you have to wait for the guy to come for it to be activated. 3 hours later, the guy is still waiting for the guy to come.
So I waited
till 10
young
people by that same kiosk, they're not exactly the quickest young people that have, eh?
No. They have. I don't want to. I mean, when I actually had my interaction with her, she was pleasant enough, but there was a level of
lethargy.
No. Let me just leave it there.
Richard lost for words. Well,
because she was friendly enough. She was friendly enough after telling me the machine doesn't start till 10 a.m.
Yeah. But I stand the ground and I use that kiosk all the time. If I meet 5-6 people there, I go in the line because
I usually pay everything online. So I'm going to have to resort to paying it from your bank account directly or something. Because I ain't standing up in no line. I don't understand how people stand up in TNTech and Wasta lines. I don't understand it. Flow lines, or people go to Flow or Digicel and all those places and you see long lines. I don't understand because there are multiple ways of paying those bills.
Flow is the only one I use online thing. Otherwise, I either use a check payment or I go in the line.
Good morning, Dr. Dotin.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Well, by God's grace, trying to keep above the waters.
And there's so many waters to tread these days.
Yes.
As they get over one wave, the next wave hits you.
That's right. I was just listening to the news. We had some murders in my former territory, Belmont, last night.
4.
Yes, and then you had the killing of the arms dealer in West Trinidad. So we have a recurring decimal there.
And Belmont has not had a problem for a little while, as far as I remember.
Yes, and I don't know if you have followed me, but I have always done my best. I am very impressed with Nicole Young. I think, is she the local government representative of Belmont East? Somewhere there.
Yes, she is.
But she has apparently been doing a lot of stuff, especially with young people and counseling and that kind of thing. And she tries to stay on top of things. So I have gone on Facebook and publicly complimented her. But the situation, you have the two valley roads there. You have to watch that. And it appears that sometimes what Leela Ramdeen says is that you have the migratory criminal. So you have situations whereby folks leave an area, create mayhem in the next area, and then come back to the area. And when they come back, because when they return, there's what we can call the extreme violence in the whole scenario. So that we are in a very, very, very rough situation. I just want to. Are you're seeing me and hearing me, right?
It's all right. It's all right.
We're getting a tour.
Yeah,
it's quite all right if he wants to pass behind you to get his coffee.
Okay, all right. So I came back from Guyana. I spent about 5 weeks in Guyana in 5 areas on the East Bank in Demerara. And I think if I could start off this morning by suggesting that CARICOM has to look at this issue of the drug trade and its linkages with murders across CARICOM. In 2000, I was in Barbados. I believe that's talking about 23 years ago. I went to every secondary school in Barbados over a 6-week period. I was in an area that doesn't make much of the news, Rendezvous. It's generally a middle, upper class area. And in one of the schools I went to, I'm saying all of that to say that sometimes we miss what is taking place at the foundational level. And when these young people who have not been, there's no intervention in their lives, when they become adults, they just continue. People see Barbados as quiet and nice. Well, not right now, because the level of criminality has escalated. But I want to tell you what happened in that particular school, what was happening. When I went to the school, there was a member of my church who was a teacher. He was a recent member. And he told me that the Form 4 and Form 5 students who were running a drug ring in the school, that's in year 2000, they are getting the best girls because they have foreign exchange with it in the schools. Fast track that scenario to what is taking place in Barbados. Now you had a lawyer and her whole family being wiped out just like that. And you haven't heard much about it from the authorities since that took place. That took place, I believe, last year. But let me come to Trinidad now, where I was dealing with a secondary school in the East-West corridor. And I did the graduation there last year. And in preparation for going into the graduation, I had a meeting with the principal. Now that school could host a university. It's a secondary school in the East-West corridor. So enough resources are being pumped into these buildings. But the position of the principal was really, I would say the architects didn't consider that at all, or the planners, because he was alienated from, what was taking place based on just where the principal's office was. But he told me something that I thought I should share with you this morning. He said, and I hope you're watching the increase in violence among the women in our secondary schools. So he told me, he said he got a call from a principal of a school a mile away. And the principal of, let's call this school A, told him that he had gang members in his school. And his school, the school where I had a graduation, they had a gang situation about 7 years ago, and it had toned down immensely. However, he said the principal in the other school, the mile away, told him that he had gang members, and it was his school that had the assistant drug dealer, all right, for the community in the school that is doing the principal reporting to him. And he said he told him that that assistant drug dealer in the school had recruited students from his school. And he says, Pastor, it was a shock to me. Now, what is happening, and I have seen that in a number of areas in the schools I'm visiting now, what is happening is that the drug dealers in some communities have now successfully recruited, all right, young people in the secondary schools. Sometimes the recruiting is a family recruiting, meaning they have their own their sons, for example, playing that role in the school, their son being a student. Sometimes it is somebody that is not related to them. But what I want to say is that where we are going in terms of these areas is that the community dealers are expanding their wings and utilizing students in secondary schools who are well paid by them. Okay, so that from very early, these 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds are getting the taste for the narco resources that exist in the wider community around the school. And that must be very concerning to us. Just last week, and I got a call from one of our 3 universities in the country, from the vice president. And to be exact, I got this call on Friday. Now, I have to be very careful what I'm saying, but my impression is, in spite of what is said officially, the local mafia is tightening the noose around our necks. And they are, unlike what some of the experts say, outside of Trinidad, the structure is very well formulated. So this guy told me, Pastor, you cannot go to the police with this. Now he puts me in a very funny position there. He says, you cannot go to the police. The parents do not want you to go to the police. And then he raised the issue of bank workers selling out people's private information. Now, I think that should be a red flag for us, because we're hearing this from several quarters. This is not something that I am saying shockingly, and it should shock any of you, because what is happening is that is a reality. I mean, that is the latest criminal, should I say, support system, that bank workers are engaged in dialogue with criminals and selling people's private account information. Now,
so you're saying that, Pastor Dotin, and I hear you, but you're now talking about commercial banks in Trinidad. Because I'm not saying it is not true, but you're saying it on a broadcast platform. What evidence do you have to support that?
Okay, let me tell you. I will give one. I could give you stories upon story. I could give you at least 2 to 3 stories this morning, but I will focus on the recent one last week because it's current. The exact account of this family was revealed to the bandits. All right, the exact account. Of course, you know I am constrained because of what is involved. That family has already begun to move out of the country. So sending their kids first. So what is happening there is that they realize.
So you're saying that the bank information of a particular family.
Yes.
The exact banking information has been taken to the court or the court bandits. Right?
Yes. Yes.
And the family has credible information that this has been done.
Sure.
Has the family taken that to the police and challenged the banking institution on that information?
Well, this is where we have a challenge with I was told, okay, if what you want me to do. Well, this is the family contact at the university contacting me, so that I told them, well, we have to go to the law. This is a case for law enforcement. But I want to share this with you.
But what was the purpose, Pastor Dotin, first? What was the purpose of the information being shared? To what end?
All right. You mean shared with me, right?
Yes.
The
banking information being shared with the
so-called bandits. Did they get? Were they robbed?
Yeah. What was the purpose of that information being shared?
All right. My information is the money has already been paid. Extortion.
Okay.
They wanted,
for extortion purposes.
Yes, for extortion purposes. I'm sorry I didn't mention that before.
Right. So they are under an alleged extortion racket. Has this information about, one, the complicity allegedly of the banking employees and by extension the banking institution, because if the employee is employed with the bank and the bank is doing nothing about it, the bank is also implicated, been shared with law enforcement and the banking institution where the alleged unauthorized sharing of information has taken place?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if not, why not?
Okay. The issue of this is a couple that has children. All the information about the children, all their whereabouts was exposed by the bandits to the parents. And the parents, now you could take this however you want to take it, but the parents did call. They made one intervention, from what I understand, because I was told I must not go to the police with this situation. The parents do not want it. So I asked the question, why? Why you do not want it? And what they told me is that I'm hoping I can see this family between today and tomorrow. I should tell you that. Mm-hmm. But when I asked why, they said as soon as they finished making the call, so at least there has been one intervention in an attempt to reach the officers. As they finished, the bandits called them back and told them, we knew we just made a call to the police. Now, this has to be very concerning to the population, to all of us, especially those who are under attack. Now, let me just shift across.
Have they reported the breach to the bank?
No, I don't know. I have to find out that today. And thanks for reminding me on that. I have to find out.
See, while I hear you, and I don't doubt what you're saying, it is always interesting to me, and I'm not diminishing people's fear for their lives and the fear for the lives of their families when they are threatened by the underworld in this country. But when you say a banking institution, I have no doubt it may be happening, but I have no evidence to support it. But when you come on a national platform and you say a family is being extorted and they refuse to contact the police because clearly there's a threat involved on the lives of their family if the families were about, particularly the children, are being detailed to the alleged bandits. And you start by saying it's a story. It's a story until evidence is provided to the authorities, including the bank and the law enforcement.
Well, Paul, and to the rest of you, I would hope that my advice would be to the family, in spite of how you feel and in spite of the fear, because there's a huge fear level here, in spite of, especially since you just finished speaking to law enforcement, and soon after that, you got a call saying, we know you just spoke to law enforcement. So that is not going to help their fears whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be advising the family today to relay this information to the police, to put their fears aside. I mean, it's good for me to say that, not under threat, but to put their fears aside. That's number one. And the issue of reporting to the bank, because what they could do is tell the bank straight, if this continues, we would move our account from there.
Let me tell you what the danger in this is to me. And I'm not diminishing the fear of the family in any way. But in the absence of a report to law enforcement, meaning the police in the country, be it at the highest level of police service, if you feel reporting it to a police station You can walk into police admin and ask to talk to a senior officer if you think that you're comfortable enough to do that. In the absence of reporting it to the bank and or law enforcement in an official capacity, you remain at the behest of the criminals. So how is not reporting it helping you to safeguard yourself and your family?
You know, I want to put myself in Pastor Dotin's position just for a bit, right? Especially as a pastor. The report may have come to him solely based on that aspect, knowing fully well Pastor Dotin's links to because Pastor Dotin has been around a long time. He's been a member of the Police Service Commission, so he has his sources. Maybe it's in that context. So I could understand Pastor Dotin not wanting to be too very revealing here this morning. I can understand that. I'm hopeful, Pastor Dotin, that the advice you're getting from Paul and from us would be to the benefit of this family and to other people who would be suffering this. Because we've heard of this. This is not new, nothing new that we're hearing. We've heard about these issues of extortion, especially in certain parts of Trinidad and Tobago. We've heard about it for years. And we have been hearing too that it's been ramped up a lot now because people find it easy now to just threaten somebody with money, to take the money, than as opposed to going with a gun and robbing them and whatnot, or kidnapping. We've heard about these stories. So I can understand your positions.
Yes. Well, let me just say in conclusion, before I move on to the Caribbean scenario, what is happening here is that I have said to my contact that the minute you pay, and you pay like that, this huge sum of money, which I understand has already been paid, the next step is on, because they're saying this is just the first installment.
Which is exactly my earlier point. I'm trying to figure out how does paying it and remaining silent help the family in the medium to long term? Unless you migrate and you just pack up and you leave.
Right.
Which they may be in the process of doing. But while you are doing that, if the bandits have this much information on you, wouldn't they also be packing up and leave and come at you again? How is this safeguarding you? That's my question.
Well, you know, Paul, you're being very rational here. But you know, when you're in this situation and the level of fear comes upon you, that is another awkward situation. Yeah. But I want to say that we have to look at the ultra efficiency of the bandit culture in the country, and clearly we can no longer afford the complacency that I still think is present in so many of our communities. Just recently, I buried a guy I was helping. He was in hiding. I have told someone in one of my groups, because we had to have an emergency discussion this weekend on where, well, as you may know, two of my groups, one deals strictly with drugs, and we have a rehab center, but we also have an outpatient program. And the other program, we don't have a rehab center for that as yet. So we use the drug rehab center sometimes to place people. I won't, of course, tell you the location, to place people under threat. But from my linkages, it appears to me there are scores of youth who have death threats over them. One I'm dealing with directly now, okay? And you know, the movement is upsetting, because you have these guys who have to move from one area to another area to escape the bullets. But clearly, we have a growing and more efficient ring of what I call the local culture of bandits, call them local mafia, whatever have you. And they are operating with, to my mind, greater impunity. And that has, I'm sounding an alarm here, and I'm raising a red or purple flag here, because clearly, you know, we just can't go on like that. It is just terrible. Yes, I got a call from office here. I just took it off. So
I saw you on TikTok last week. I don't know how old it was, to be very honest, talking about what you believe is the issue of drug dependency and the impact marijuana legalization has had in that. Can you share a bit of that with us?
Yeah, sure. I just want to bring I believe there are two groups who have raised that. I raised it first, and there are two other groups. All right, very.
You're busy this morning.
All your phones, Pastor.
It's my phone. Yes, there are two groups who have raised that issue, and I just want to say that the research that is now emerging on the impact of the marijuana on the nucleus accumbens of the brain, that is the motivational center. For like 30 years in marijuana research, they were talking about the amotivational syndrome. Okay, failure to be motivated, not wishing, having no appetite to craft a dream, etc., etc. But now Jody Gilman from Harvard University Center for Addiction Studies is clear in her research that it interferes with that center of the brain called the nucleus accumbens. Now, in terms of the gang violence in the schools, I know for sure that in about, let's say, 5 of those schools that I'm aware of and linked to, that the usage by those students, and not only boys, but also girls. As you see the gang violence in schools, the girls are at the top level now. They're actually leading some of these gangs and the violence, attacking security, attacking parents. Well, some parents are attacking the students too. All right. The last incident last week, they had a mother on the ground. All right. The children just rushed her. She tried to defend her daughter, that is. So that what is happening is that a lot of those children are using. This week I have a whole lineup of folks I'm seeing here, student age in the early 20s on this issue of the marijuana. It has escalated tremendously, no doubt about that, escalated tremendously. And you see, sometimes we pass bills in the parliament, but we don't have what I call should be the attendant prevention strategies in a structured manner. All right. So you say, okay, you're going in that direction, but we know it's not good for you, short term and long term. Short term, it may be concealed. Long term is more devastating. Then you have a set of parents who are telling you, well, Pastor, my child has lost it, stoned, just out of it, just psychotic. So that this is a situation we have got to launch something like what I see like 95.5 had done with tobacco smoking. We need to deal with the issue of the marijuana smoking because it is hurting us. I'm telling you, it is hurting us tremendously.
Pastor Dotin, you raise the issue, though, of girls now leading the charge in terms of these fights and so on. What do you think is causing that?
Well, what I believe is that a lot of these young people, young girls, for example, are growing up without solid parental influence. Most of them have a hatred for men. And I hate to say it, but I must say it because I'm involved in the schools. I recall I was going to a school in Northeast that is a hot spot. And by the way, folks, I hope one day we could look at unplanned developments in our society and how that contributes to the drug trade and the criminal trade. Sandy Grande SDA school last year, they experienced violence. A 6-year-old from that school, our school, Adventist school, was shot and killed. And there was a meeting of parents after, and then there was a march after, and there's some other initiatives a very proactive Principal Elliott is taking. So that I believe it relates to the collapse of the family and the hatred, some of these girls have for the male of the species because of what has happened in the environment, not just with one generation, with 2 generations. I shocked somebody recently and tell them, we have triple generations, in one family name in terms of being involved in the negativity and criminality of the society. That is one. And then secondly, remember how some of these girls are being socialized. Some of them are being socialized by grandparents who can't really manage them, okay? And some of these families are supported by bandits themselves. So the money comes, and then the bandit looks at the girl and she's been mentored by the bandit. So you have a weak grandmother. I feel grandparents should enjoy the retirement and not be involved in this whatsoever. But that's where the sociology of the nation has reached. But the bandit now starts to be with the girl. So what the girl does is she translates her connections with the outside, criminality, and brings it into the school. So some of these girls are not just, starting up in the school to be socialized in a negative way, but they're being socialized in a negative way in their home and in the community, and their relationships are like that. And then remember, some mothers agree, sorry to tell you this, some mothers agree with this because the bandit or the drug dealer is providing resources. So he's the stepfather or foster father of that.
What does this tell you about the schools themselves? And this is not to blame the education ministry.
Yes, sure.
But I'm talking about in jurisdictions that understand the holistic nature of education. There's one agency, one institution in this country, only one, and I challenge anybody to ask me, where everyone has to go through what should be a standardized protocol, and that is primary school. Because you don't have to go through the whole of secondary school based on the law. You have to start at 5 or 6, depending on your birthday, and you can drop out at 16 or before. 16 is the legal age of completion, even if you finish Form 4 or 5 or not. And in jurisdictions that have made progress, they understand the role of a primary school. Some call it, in the US? I forget. But the primary school in not only teaching A for apple, B for bat, 2 plus 2 is 4, but identifying issues this human being is facing to try to correct them, including learning disabilities, including familial issues like a drug-toting parent, you understand, or an abusive parent, and trying to put systems in place to mediate it or to remediate it. Because there's no other institute. You don't have to go to church. You don't have to if you don't want to. You understand?
Yes.
But you have to, by law, go through the entire primary school system. And particularly the Scandinavian countries understand that if you catch the problem, in addition to educating the child in primary school, and all children have problems, some more than others.
Right.
You can use that 5 years, you have that child there, to try and turn a corner if the child is, for whatever reason, may not be the fault of the child, going down a wrong road, including socialization to talk about in a particular direction.
Let me just, I have 4 minutes with you because my office is harassing me on an issue here, which is an emergency. But let me just say something. Okay, the child was expelled, right? Now we're here and she wants to be a nurse and she wants to recover her dream, etc., etc. So we have to be there for that child too. I want to emphasize that. We have expelled the child. We haven't killed the child because she still exists. She's still a late teen. But there was another issue where this particular girl, and I share your view, we're not blaming this minister. This minister has come in, run straight into it. This was something that took place. We cut the branches and the trunk gradually and imperceptibly, and all the whole tree wants to fall down. But I don't know if you saw the second video, and I'm not hearing much about that, where this girl, she cuffed the other girl to the applause of the children in the school. And that has to be concerning to us, whether it's in Port of Spain, in the school they're applauding, outside of the school they're applauding. It's excitement for them. And she, after cuffing the girl, and the girl actually lost it, she pulled the girl on the ground, dragged the girl around, kicked in her head several times. And they were all happy about that. So that issue of desensitization among our students in the presence of violence, and it seemed to be enjoying it, must be of concern to us also. Okay? But in all of those cases in the classroom, you never saw an intervention. All right? When the girl was expelled, the teacher stood up to her. Kudos to the teacher. I mean, she could have been slaughtered in that classroom, given how the students were running up and down in the classroom. But I'm saying it appears to me that we have to relate to the issue of structures in school for discipline, and has that broken down in some of these schools where violence seems to be rampant. We have got to look at that. And we have got to look at the whole issue of the security of the schools, the counseling. We have got to look at agencies that apparently, there are a few agencies. I was telling folks, I don't think we have one institution right now that deals with teenage female addicts. I don't think we have one. We have one for adult drug addicts, one or two. I'm not sure if the second one is fully functional. That other one is in Palo Seco that I'm talking about. So we have an absence of institutions, and we have some of the institutions that exist to solve some of these problems are not fully operational. So I believe we have got to look at that, all right? We're not criticizing this party or that party, but we just have to look at where we have failed as a society, all right? And pull all the groups together in terms of moving forward and seeing what is needed. You know, I'll tell you something, Paul, and to the rest of you. I feel a time for constitutional reform, if I should veer off a minute, but it relates to this, because to my mind, the politics is so polarized and divided. I don't know if in the next 10 years we could deal with that. But clearly, the nations that have succeeded in managing some of these problems are nations who recognize that we have got to pull together and unite the various streams in this society and ethnic groups, if it's a plural society like ours or Guyana, and move forward. If we don't recognize that, we would never be able to solve these problems. We could pray all we want to pray. And of course, I'm not downplaying prayer as a pastor. I believe in prayer. But I'm seeing there are other realities that we have got to fix in terms of pulling together. And I would, if you don't mind me saying it, my last minute here, before I rush off, I would kindly advise the Prime Minister to attend those crime talks. It's too serious for him to be absent, all right? And by the way, I should tell you, the society still has a certain level of hope in the coming together. Still, it might be under 40%, but there's still a level of hope. And I would advise him to attend those crime talks with the leader of the opposition and whoever her team is. But God bless. I have to run away now. I have an emergency. But thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for being here. Always a pleasure.
Yes, God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Dotin.
Again, condolences to the family of Helen Bhagwansingh. I see the news is officially broken now on mainstream media houses.
Yeah,
and we spoke about it this morning. 83 years old.
Oddly enough, she had 4 children. And one of the children, one of the boys, Terry. I lie with Trevor. But Terry is lying with my brother. And today is also Terry's birthday. So it's a tough one.
You'll have a great day. Be safe. It's Monday. Enjoy your day.
Yeah, folks, have a wonderful day. Remember to let go and let God. Richard, I thoroughly enjoyed myself over the weekend. I look forward to coming to Bacchanal, bubble, and bad behavior coming up.
You're muted, Rich.
Yeah, it's actually this weekend, Saturday at 8:30 and Sunday at 6:30 at Napa, and everywhere has tickets. Napa has tickets. All the outlets have tickets. So you can get tickets at Napa from today, from I think it's 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. I think they open from 11. And you can also get tickets at all the usual outlets across the country, from Electronics in Arima, Creme Fresh in Chagonas, K-Squared Fashions in West Mall, and Eastgates, Schaffler Auto Services, Jabili Rawi, and Tony's Florals, etc. All of those places have tickets already. So looking forward to this weekend of Bacchanal, Bubble, and Bad Behavior. You should not miss it. It is absolutely hilarious.
Is that the end of Nikki's soiree?
Yeah, this is her final show for the year.
She should put that on tape or something. And I think all women should have a look at Nikki Crosby. Every single one of you, especially our listeners and viewers. All of you.
Of course, coming up after 8 o'clock, after my Kiss Forward Choice, we have a rebroadcast of a press conference that was held by Senior Counsel Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj. All right, so we'll rebroadcast that right over our Kiss Forward Choice. Before we get into that, let's get into our news brief. Avie's in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.